Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Rapture. We are now in control of an unnamed Big Daddy. We must do what all Big Daddies do.
Look, Daddy, it's you.
Oh, that's adorable. Come here. Let's go stab some corpses together and drain the red liquid out of them.
Let's go out to play.
Because isn't that just so much fun? We are an Alpha Series Big Daddy known as Subject Delta. We are not the protagonist from the previous game. There you go. Oh, you're so disturbing. It's adorable.
This way.
Hey, come back here. Don't go running off like that. Excuse me. Crap. Well, that didn't take long. Alright, let's do what we do best. Ow, that was not a normal electrobolt. Alright, that's it. You're getting the drill.
Get out of here, freak!
Oh, not cool.
He's perfectly safe now. This is not your daughter. Do you understand? Her name is Eleanor, and she is mine. Now, kneel.
So who the hell do you think you are?
Remove your helmet. Now, take the pistol. Place it against your head.
What are you doing? This is a Luger. We're not allowed to use this gun in this game.
Fire.
Welcome to Let's Play Bioshock 2.
Hello, can you hear me?
Alright, so it's 10 years later and Rapture is exactly the same as we left it in the previous game. New character, new design, new face. Same place. Alright, so now we are now in control of the game. Now, playing as Big Daddy, you move a lot slower, but the controls are exactly the same as the previous game. We start out with a drill weapon, as the signature Big Daddies have. Now, the intro of this game is a little bit confusing if you don't have any context to the Bioshock series. There's a lot that needs to be explained, where we are, what we're doing, what the setting is, what the timeline is, all that other stuff, and what the technology is. And how we were brought back to life after taking a bullet to the head and 10 years having passed. We certainly didn't spend those 10 years unconscious. We were simply brought back with a Vita chamber, which means someone must have access to our DNA and a particular interest in keeping us alive, so we'll have to investigate on that further. Let's go pick up our first audio diary here. And the first thing you'll notice about the audio diaries is that the audio quality is very much improved. We'll be playing this on the Xbox 360 version, much like the previous game. We'll be playing on hard, much like the previous game. And we'll be going for an evil run as well. but I'll explain more about the context of that as we go on. Now, I believe in some versions of the PC version of Bioshock 1, you could change the audio quality of the audio diaries like that, but in the console versions, I'm pretty sure it's fixed. So Bioshock 2 made an improvement to that, which is definitely going to be much better for this LP, because there were plenty of times in the first game where I don't really think you can understand the audio diaries all that well in the recorded version, especially the original run of Bioshock 1 that I did before I did the enhanced one that you guys can actually see now to this day. But they made a lot of changes for the better here. We have a generic melee button here. We picked up a first aid kit, but we no longer use the first aid kit with the B button. We use it with one of the directional buttons. I believe it's right on the D-pad. And B is now our generic melee button, which is actually really nice. So now we don't have to worry about wasting our ammo at close range. And we can whack-a-late things with the drill. Well, we're going to try our damn to scare our little sister back, even if that means splicing up a little.
Daddy was sleeping for such a long time, and Eleanor has missed you. Find her and you'll be all better.
Heck was that? Okay, so clearly our little sister has an interest in seeing us rescue her, so that's nice. She's going to leave us some gifts throughout the game. Over in these side rooms here, there's some items we can pick up and all that other stuff. But the biggest change gameplay-wise to this game is the fact that we can now hold our weapon and our plasmid out at the same time, one in each hand, which may sound like it's a big change and it really adds a lot, but to be honest, there's not really a time in the first game where I really wish I could have both of them out at the same time. And there are some combos that come of this within this game, but we don't really get to experiment with that until much later in the game. And I'll explain what I mean whenever that's actually relevant. But it's nice, and but it's not completely necessary, I don't think. I mean, they had to change something, but overall this game is very similar to the first. In all the right ways, though. But yeah, the whole 1-2 punch works exactly the same as it did. The electric bolt electrocutes enemies and puts them into sort of stun status where they can be more susceptible to damage, and they're also not attacking you while they're stunned. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to demonstrate when splicers are enemies we're fighting walking in water, we can electrocute the water and kill them instantly, assuming they're not immune to it, which most of them aren't. We will encounter much more elementally immune enemies in this game than we did in the previous game, so that'll be a bit more of a challenge, but we'll be able to deal with it fairly easy. We're a lot more powerful as a Big Daddy, and we encounter much more larger groups of splicers in this game, but the combat feels a little bit more fluent, and we're not as reliant on preserving our ammo, it seems. But all of that will make sense when we actually get some weapons to use. Right now we just have the drill, which does have a limited fuel supply. We can melee with it indefinitely, but in order to actually use the drill spin attack that well, penetrates enemies, obviously, we have to consume fuel for it. And the melee and the actual drill spin combo together with each other, so you can sort of trade off, use one or the other. It's better than spinning the drill madly, I suppose. But, yeah, things are different, but only in a handful of ways. But with how awesome Bioshock was, more of the same is not necessarily a bad thing. So here's a little tutorial about how to electrocute water and all that, much like in the first game. But basically our main objective here was to get the electric bolt and zap that generator so we could get through the door and move on. So that's what we did, essentially. I'm going to try to collect as many of the audio diaries as I can find, and I'm going to try to collect all the power to people stations in this game as well. But the issue with that is the fact that you can't backtrack to previous levels that you've been to. So if I miss one, I've missed it permanently. So I'm going to have to make sure I get them as they come. So we just picked up a new weapon here, the rivet gun, which is as used by the Rosie in the previous game as well as in this one. And we now have access to it, and it's actually pretty good. It's basically the equivalent of the pistol in this game because it fires a semi-automatic precision shot that we can use to get headshots with. We can aim down the sights of it. It looks really cool too. I love the steampunk feel of this game, how every weapon is just kind of this overpowered, jerry-rigged together piece of metal that just happens to work somehow, despite how ridiculous it looks. It's very much the essence of steampunk. But there will be a lot of... I'll be talking a lot during this LP, doing a lot of explanation, but a lot of it is going to be stuff that I've already explained in the previous game, but I figured I'd go over it again anyway, just in case you didn't care to watch the LP of the previous game, and just for the sake of being thorough and always having something to talk about.
Big sister doesn't want you.
But I'm not going to be condescending to people that already know a lot about this game anyway. For instance, the Big Sister. You probably already know that the Big Sister exists. It's been talked about. It's the main gimmick of this game, essentially. She doesn't look so tough. We can take her. Yeah, come here, you. Show you how the Big Daddy really fights. Right in the face. Okay, I'm being completely ridiculous here. The Big Sisters are actually very tough. What the Big Sisters actually are, they'll establish this later in the game, is that they are the adult versions of little sisters that were rescued, and they still have the residual atom that they've collected over the course of their lives, and so obviously they have the ability to use that to splice up if they so choose to, so they can become obscenely powerful, and they can. I'm not sure if it was their own volition or Tenenbaum that decided to actually modify them like so, but either way they're ridiculously powerful and they have their own agenda essentially. So their interest is simply in protecting the little sisters. Unfortunately, nearly everybody in Rapture now is under this whole family organization thing under Sophia Lamb, the mother of the little sister we're trying to rescue. So pretty much everybody is against us. It's not like with the first game. Nice to hear Andrew Ryan's voice again, speaking of which. Where everybody had their own separate side. You know, you were with Atlas, or you were with Ryan, or you were with you were your own side. You know, there's a lot of moral ambiguity there and different factions and everything. And in this game, you're pretty much a rogue, or you're with Lamb, and that's it. We would be a rogue in that sense. So we can't actually defeat the big sister in that encounter. We just fight her off long enough until she finally decides to run away. But waiting to explain a few things until they're actually relevant. But I like the way they change the perspective when you're playing as Big Daddy in this game, because we now have this nice cinematic silhouette around our character that is better than the giant obscuring helmet that we had in the previous game. So the whole helmet thing works a lot better in this game than it did in the previous one. It makes everything look really cinematic and almost like a widescreen effect, which I'm a big fan of, so without taking you out of the experience like it did in the previous game, so... Oh no, she didn't. Well, that was fun while it lasted. Wait a minute. Huh. Guess that suit helps after all. So this is a nice little gimmick of Bioshock 2. We now have underwater sequences where we can leave the confines of the Rapture walls and go out into the open ocean and walk the surface, which is actually really cool. There's a lot of nice details around here. One of these sequences is very short-lived, but we have the whole water physics and everything. And sometimes later in the game, we can pick up raw atom slugs that are just sitting around on the outside here and collect small pieces of atom from them. But I'll mention that whenever it's relevant.
All right, diary. Last entry.
Hey, look at this guy.
We found a sphere.
Never seen a Big Daddy like him before.
Ain't that right, baby? Next stop, topside.
Oh, I love you. It was you who saved us, Sammy. It was you, Button. What was that? What's that sound?
Well, those fuel stations will give you drill fuel later in the game. I really wish these underwater sequences could act as like a segue from between levels all the time. Like you could just use them as like a transport hub to walk between levels, but that's such is not the case. Like I said, you cannot backtrack. Oh, Rapture. How I will never grow tired of you. And neither will the audience for that matter. Rapture has become one of the most iconic locations in video games recently. But rather bold choice to have Bioshock Infinite not take place there, but I think they pretty much decided they had exhausted all their creative possibilities with it, so I don't blame their choice at all, but it'll be sad to see this place go, but in favor of a more interesting and mysterious place. But anyway, we are now back in business and on the trail of our lost little sister. Hopefully she's okay.